Yeah. So I hope we all can see the screen. Chitraji, can you see the screen?
Yeah. But I have the book also, Prayers Meditations,
Yeah, but yeah, this is the talk actually, which I shared with you.
yeah,
Remember?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So just 1 minute of a pause, and then we can start. Yes. So welcome everyone, and so this is the prayer of May 13, 1914 that we have today with us, and this is the week 7, if I'm not wrong. It's the week 7 that we are at of the course. And as all of you may have gone through the prayer and through also the transcript or the talk by Dr. Alok Pandey. So if I may just request you to share what resonated, what was it that kind of stood out. What is it that we want to discuss on this? That would be really great if we can share one by one.
I can go.
Yeah.
Um, there's not much this time. It was very, I don't know, beautiful and simple. What I really loved was like when, when they say that when like having faith in the Lord is a service in itself, and it spreads hope, faith, and love,
Mm.
and the positivity and love. And similarly, it same goes with love. Like when you love the Lord, that's a service in itself because you spread the energy. So I mean, like kind of seeing a lot of say books or serials about mystics. This is something that was very apparent at how it kind of spreads, but seeing it in black and white kind of reaffirmed a lot of things I've seen.
Yeah.
And one thing that I didn't understand, but I don't know if I need to understand, is that statement where they say that she left her psychic being there, like in
Mm.
Pondicherry when she left. I don't know what that means. I don't know if you do. So that
Mm.
was one thing I was confused about. Like
Mm.
because somehow psychic being seems like the soul
Mm.
kinds, but
Mm.
I'm sure it's not. That's why she left it. So
Mm. Mm.
and another thing that I really loved was that it's not necessary to know if one is at the center or at the periphery, that statement. Because
Beautiful.
somehow, in a lot of, sorry, you were saying something?
No, I said beautiful. It's
Yeah,
really
because,
nice.
in lot of everything, in a lot of things that we hear or we read, it's about, where you are at. You stay at the center, stay at the center, stay at the center. Some things are good, some things are bad. So this was kind of the first time that it doesn't really matter as long as, it's the direction is towards the divine. It doesn't matter.
Mm.
Yeah. And the joy of equal. I love the example that Alokda had given about the sword. Like
Mm.
never looked at it that way. Like, it always feels that when you're doing something, it
Mm.
somehow has more value, more life, more. I mean, you are more when you are doing.
Mm.
So that was very beautiful. So yeah, I think that's it for me for this time.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a few more things I would like to add on 2 points that you touched, but maybe when we come to it. One was this lying by the side, and the other was when you said center periphery, and I think one more psychic being. So just remind me, I would like to touch upon these things, maybe add on something. Yeah, thank you so much, Taru. Maybe anyone else?
Yeah, Monica, can I go ahead?
Please.
Uh, Nothing much to share, but there's one in the first paragraph towards the end when Alokda shared the moment that comes into the head, there is ambition, ego creeping in some way
Mm,
or the other in this. What I was wondering is how I understand ego generally comes in when there are people around us, right?
mm,
But when it's my personal connection with my God, my worship, could you explain how ego creeps in my worship towards the divine or my
yeah,
service towards the divine?
mm,
I couldn't get that a little.
yes, yeah,
Yeah, that's
sure.
it.
Mm, yeah. Anyone else would like to share? Okay. So just unmute any time you want to share, and I can stop on the way. So I can, I think, already start then if no one else wants to share at the moment. You can share later also. So this prayer again, in all the prayers, Mother reveals to us the right attitude. It's like the basic foundation of all the prayers is what is the attitude we must have towards life, because mother is on this path of yoga, union with the divine, and that is not only mother's task; it is the task of each and every human being on earth to constantly grow in our consciousness, to unite with the Godhead within. It's our, it's task of all of us. So the attitude that Mother shares with us is not the attitude that only an avatar needs to have, but also the attitude we must strive towards. So we should not consider, every time I reiterate this, that we should not consider that we are unworthy and we are something less, and we are not capable of that. We have to make this life in the light of the divine as much as possible, because in each and every phase of life we become a little capable, then a little capable, then a little capable. So we should not be kind of giving up कि मेरे बस का तो नहीं है, मैं तो छोटा इंसान हूँ, ये तो भगवान के बस का काम है, बिकॉज भगवान तो हम सबके अंदर ही बसे हैं, गॉड रिसाइड्स विद इन ईच ऑफ अस ऑल द टाइम. So this is the attitude that Mother reveals, the right attitude towards life in all the situations. She goes through darkness, she goes through ignorance, she goes through her own egoism. She shares in many prayers. Even then, going through egoism, what can be the best attitude proceeding further towards the divine? So here I would just pick up a few lines, touching upon a few lines through the transcript. So, Mother says that even in divine works, one must be disinterested. What kind of a disinterest? For example, I have been given this work, and it's very easy for me to let my own mental opinions, my own emotional, passions get entangled in that work which I am at or which I am offering to the divine. It's very easy. They are ready to pop up anytime. So even if I think that I am doing something which is a service to the divine, which I am doing as an offering, it has to be in a kind of a disinterest, in the sense I do my utmost best that I can. But if it does not happen, it does not happen. So there has to be, one has to put all the energy in, and then one also has to forget. This is what a disinterest is. Mother says many a times in this prayers also, Alokda has reiterated, I do whatever the task at my hand, which I consider, either as an offering or the divine work that I am doing towards the higher consciousness. I must do it in my utmost capacity. I think this is what all of us need to also ponder. Do we actually end up doing it in our utmost capacity? Because many a times we have sections made in our lives. This is the task which is more important. That can wait. Some tasks we give more importance, others we keep on waiting. So, one has to really be very, very on, and nobody can tell me, nobody can tell me that this needs to be done. I have to find out for myself, what do I do with my time? Where do I spend it? Am I doing the task in my utmost capacity? Then mother says, once we have done the task in our utmost capacity, even the divine works we have to be now disinterested. ऐसा नहीं कि passive mode में, because it's very easy to confuse this with inertia and tamas. It's very easy. So I have to see whether I am really honest to myself in all my sincerity. I am giving all my energy and yet aiming to be disinterested. Now, what does it mean? That our only concern should be to serve the divine. How, where, which way he will place us should not be our concern. Many a times, so many phases in our life come. Sometimes I have to stay home. Sometimes I have to be active in the field. Sometimes I'm stuck in the middle of all this. No matter whatever be the place, I must be in my sincerity, like I'm placed centrally in my heart, that whatever I do is a service to you, mother. Whether I am able to be in the field, or maybe circumstances want me to be at home for the time being, does not matter. So that is what it is said, that how, where, which way he will place us should not be our concern. Because many a times, depending on our mental capacities, skills and strengths, we may think this is not my area of expertise. What can I contribute here? We can think that. For example, abhi aage examples, you may have read Nirodha and others. They were placed in departments where it was not their expertise. Now they did not ask the mother, why are you placing me there? Mother knew the best. So this should not be our concern, that only my strengths should be used and my weaknesses should not be worked upon. This should not be our concern. Whatever circumstance I am to go through, I will do the best I can as an offering to the divine in all my disinterest. Now, the moment that comes into the head, so it is referring to, again, the ego creeping in. There is ambition, some way or the other. One can know only in sincerity, as we were saying earlier. Only I can know whether I am sincere in this work, or am I hiding something from myself or mother. Only I can know. Nobody else can dictate it to me. So as Gurpreet ji was asking, how does ego come in with my relationship with the divine? It's not that when you are communicating to the divine, their ego is creeping in. It's not about that. It's about when I'm working in my activities, day-to-day activities which I am involved in. There, if I don't if I don't constantly keep a remembrance that yes, this is I'm doing for the mother, this I'm doing for the mother. Yes, we forget, and yeah, yes, Preeti, I'll just take that. So yeah, so if I am day-to-day activities, I forget to remember and offer to the mother, it is very easy that the ego comes in and it makes it, even the divine work, as a burden of its, like, as a badge on itself. So for example, I can take this, for example, this small organization that we have, Living Light. We started it in the hope that it lights up lives, just like it helped us to lighten our own lives. Even now it is helping us. Now this cannot become a a kind of a part of my ego. As long as mother wants it to go, as long as it goes in the right direction, it will serve. As long as it becomes kind of entangled and enmeshed with my own ego, with the ego of maybe the team that works with it, then it can happen. It's a very good probability that it can happen, and only I would know whether my ego is coming or not in between this divine work. So that is why all the works that we are engaged in, it's a constant process of self dissolution, a constant process of like giving, self giving, if I can say. I'm constantly recognizing layers and layers upon myself, and I'm offering it to the mother, lighting up that kind of burden from my shoulder, that mother, you know the best, and guide me on this path, guide us on this path. So that was the point, that ego can come even in the divine works. We can make anything as a badge on our certificate, or a kind of a tamga on our shoulders, that this belongs to me, and all that. It can come any time. So one has to be absolutely sincere. What is it that is going on in my head, in my emotions, when I'm saying that I'm involved in divine works? Sincerity is very, very important. Being vigilant to our own ego is very important. And even Mother has placed a lot of importance on being sincere on this path. Without being sincere, nothing can happen. We cannot do much, because all the dishonesties will only be trapped within us. Nobody else will be able to point me out that I am dishonest, right? So that becomes a really trap within myself. I'll not be able to progress without sincerity. Yeah. So that was that. Whether one will be a little squirrel rolling in the mud and putting that little mud into the sea. So Mother is saying that in whatever capacity I can do at each moment, contributing to the divine work of evolution of the consciousness, I must do. No work is little, no work is greater. We have this tendency in the mind that people who run organizations, they are doing a greater job than people who are maybe sweeping a floor or maybe doing a little task. But that's totally a myth. Totally a myth. In whatever capacity I can do, in my sincerity, offering myself to the divine, I must do that. Right? So this comparison is totally absurd. It should not happen. Thinking that so that little squirrel just helped Lord Rama's making the bridge when they were trying to make the bridge to Lanka, and that was enough. That was her offering, because that was her capacity, and that cannot be called as little or more. And like Shatrughan now cannot go there in the forest with Rama and Sita. So he's there, he's loving the Lord, and he's in his self giving to the Lord, even remaining in Ayodhya. He is being a servant of the divine in whatever capacity I can do. Yeah. And Lakshman has the capacity that he has been in the forest now. He can guard, he can, do much other activities. So in that capacity, he's becoming to, he's coming to serve the Lord, Rama. And Bharat in his own capacity. So I think these are beautiful examples where in their own capacity, in our own capacity, we are sincere that, okay, this is the best I can do in this moment, and I offer this to the Lord. And this is really beautiful, that the best we can do is to have faith in the divine, have love for the divine, because the more and more we have a beautiful relationship with the divine, we are one drop of toxicity less in this world. I think that is the biggest service that we can do. Even when relationships come to our in front, even in relationships, if I can turn again and again, because we keep on slipping, if I can turn again and again my attention, my love, my even the relationship offered to the divine, I think it changes the quality, and the burdens of the relations then lightens, because then all those expectations, all those demands from each other, they come up, and then they kind of dissolve again. They keep on coming up because the ego is so hard, the resistance is so strong. But the moment I choose, where do I want to be? You know, do I want to also make this as an offering? What is this phase of relationship teaching me? Even then can that can become a path in my progress, and then I also dissolve my expectations and demands from the relationship for a moment. You know, it may come up again, that's a different point. Yeah, so a person who loves the Lord spreads the energy of love in the atmosphere. This is really beautiful, the biggest social service that one can do, whether he likes it or not. It's like being a flower. A rose cannot help but to exude its fragrance. So, a person who is in love with the divine, who is offering his life to the divine, cannot help but to love and progress, because love and progress, they go hand in hand. Love does not go hand in hand with stagnancy. Love and progress go hand in hand. Because stagnancy, you know, tamas, again we will take up again that how we can confuse it with tamas, you know, not doing anything and saying that Lord will do all that is necessary. Yeah.
Monica,
Yes.
Chitra here.
Yeah.
Actually, even if we pray for others, we need not tell it out, no? We just
Sure.
offer it and
Sure.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that that's the best kind of prayer, because telling to others that I am praying, you know, that also becomes a little, you know, even
Yeah,
if we are not wanting it, it may become a show off, you know.
yeah,
So
show off,
better
then
to wait.
yeah, I can feel that ego is creeping in, as you
Yes,
told.
yes.
No?
It
Yeah,
creeps in. It creeps in. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So here Alokda shares, you know, the Gita speaks of one of the signs of bhakta, the devotee of the Lord, which is Maitri. Maitri is you know, a kind of a friendly behavior. Maitri, friendly and frank behavior with everyone. Karuna is compassion, you know, because one who has, each one of us has been through challenges, you know, and the more we allow ourselves to connect with the Godhead within through those challenges, the more compassionate we become. The capacity of compassion increases, because those challenges are one which connect us to others. You know, if I have lost someone, I can really connect with people who have lost people in their life. You know, if I have gone through a disease, that makes me more compassionate. If I have used it properly, if I have still bitterness left, that's a different task altogether. You know, I have to still keep on working. But if I have been able to use that pain in order to get in touch with the deeper light within, then Maitri and Karuna, they are the byproducts of this service or offering to the divine. Yeah. So here, Mother starts with the prayer. This somnolence of my thought, O Lord, thou wilt shake off, so that I may have knowledge and understand the experience thou hast given to my being. So, whenever we go through any experience, we try to analyze it through the capacity of the mind. But as we are all are aware that mind has a very limited domain of functioning, it cannot understand all the things in the universe and also our experiences. So we can just mind is an instrument of facts and figures, but real understanding comes through a still and empty mind. You know, we are becoming more and more aware of that. So Mother is saying that whenever a kind of a, you know, a kind of a stagnancy comes, a sleep state comes in my thought, kind of an inertia, you will shake it off. You know, Mother is saying you will shake it off to the divine, so that I may have knowledge and understand the experience thou hast given to my being, so that I can see my own experiences of life in a different light altogether, in a larger perspective, which usually we are not able to see from the limited ego's perspective. So when does this real understanding happen in our lives? We all go through various experiences. The real understanding happens when the mind is able to be really calm, tranquil, and quiet. The methods may be many. How I make my mind tranquil, the methods may be many. One that we frequently discuss is invoking peace and stillness and immobility within the being. That is one really beautiful method that Mother has shared with us. So once the mind is silent and tranquil, then the divine light shows us a new perspective, whether in dreams or in waking state, of understanding the experience that I may have gone through in my life. So Mother says, when something in me puts a question to thee, always thou repliest. I think this is really beautiful because we don't fathom this power of communication with the divine, with the Mother. We don't understand it in its full effect. Even if I'm able to offer it or do this activity in my mind, Mother, this is my problem, this is my issue, please shed light. Mother gives the answer back. Even if I may not be able to write it, I may be on the way, maybe I'm not able to write it in my diary, it's okay, does not matter. The thing is that if I am able to put that confusion in front of the Mother, it is not possible that Mother does not reply. The reply may come in either a direct form or an indirect form, which will come to in a few lines further. Yeah, so the reply may come, Mother says, and when it is necessary that I should know something, thou teachest it to me either directly or indirectly. Now, directly is the inner illumination that I get to know about a certain experience through my own dream, through my own, maybe contemplation, reflection, or I get to know, maybe I read a word from somewhere, maybe I get a message from somewhere, or maybe I talk to a person and that person says something which directly hits at the right place. So these are the indirect ways of Mother replying to me. So directly is through the inner guidance and indirectly either through a person or through some external hint. So Mother says, whatever I need to understand, I need to know, the divine will make me know if I have put the question in front of the Mother. That Mother, please resolve this confusion for me. It is not possible that Mother does not answer. Now, example that Alokda shares is that maybe many people say, oh, Savitri is so difficult to read, Light Divine is so difficult to read. But if there is a true sincerity that I want to read it, and I put this in front of the Mother, Mother, I want to read this, show me the way. Some or the other thing happens in life and I am guided towards it. Sincerity needs to be there, that I really want to do that. Because many a time we keep on saying on the shallow surface that I want to do it, but something in me is not yet ready, right? So then it does not happen soon. Yeah. I see more and more that all impatient revolt, all haste would be useless. Everything is organized solely that I may serve thee as I should. How I may serve thee, I have no clue. You only know. You want me to go through darkness? Maybe that is the way to serve thee. You want me to, uh, do these many activities? That's another way to serve thee. Sri Aurobindo was serving the divine when he was in Alipur jail, cut off from all the social happenings, the freedom struggle, the contacts and all that. Nothing there. And he was still offering himself to the divine, having the darshan of Sri Krishna there. So whatever the divine wants me to go through, I will go through. This aspiration has to be there. This inherent aspiration that yes, my life is a self-giving, an offering to the divine, and I will make it the best, whatever phase of life I may be going through. So even in divine service, why isn't this happening? This should happen in this way. Right now it should happen. Many a times we fall a prey to these tendencies of our nature. We can't help it. But then again, what is needed is to dust off the old layers of behavior and bring up a new one, kind of a phoenix rising from ashes. So we may want it to happen in a certain way. Alokda shares that we may want this event of the phase of life should happen in this and this way. It's good to aspire, but there should not be a state of haste. Now it's a very delicate balance that we all need to make. So there has to be utmost energy, all directed towards the perfection of the work. Yet there has to be a lack of impatience and revolt. I think this is a very, very delicate balance that we need to have. It requires a lot of strength, a lot of preparation. Because when I'm talking of this, I can easily see one can easily fall in this state of inertia. That saying that, the divine wants me to go through inertia. I can easily say that. People use these sentences in weird ways. So that is why Alokda has shared repeatedly that I'll do the best possible, and then I will leave it to the mother or the divine to whatever way it wants me to go ahead. So we should offer it and leave it at that, giving the best aspiration and best energy levels there. Our aspiration we should have and then leave it to the divine. As the mother says about the supramental action, that you aspire and then you allow, giving space to the divine to act. So what am I doing? I'm intensely aspiring. It's not that I have stopped aspiring. I'm intensely aspiring each moment in order for my transformation to happen. But I'm not hasty about my transformation. Hey mother, why aren't you doing that? I'm still the same, all that haste. Why is this work not happening? It should happen, it should happen. Only the divine knows whether it should happen or not happen, right? So this delicate balance is something that we all can work upon. It's a beautiful progressive thing that we can work on. So mother says that this impatience and revolt is useless. It's kind of not worthy of giving it time. What is my place in this service? For a long time past, I do not ask. Now, mother, I think, at this moment, she's preparing herself in order to work with Sri Aurobindo. And she sees that there are many, many sadhaks who are associated with Sri Aurobindo and who are actively dealing with his day-to-day activities. Now, mother at this moment is not yet formed the ashram. All that has not happened. Mother does not know what exactly her place is going to be, because even for the avatar it is a gradual unfolding. It's not a very well charted way that sab kuch pata hai, back to back ki kaise hona hai sab kuch. Not like that. So in the beginning, it is said, if one reads the records of the mother, that for a very long time mother did not come out of her room when she was there with Sri Aurobindo. Finally, when she came to Pondicherry, she was preparing and preparing and preparing herself. She was not out in active domain as after after Sri Aurobindo left his physical body. After that, she was completely engaged in all the activities of the ashram. It was not like that since the beginning. So mother is saying that you only know what I need to be, where I need to be in this moment. Now touching upon what Taru shared, center or the periphery. The center means that I am the major center of all the activities that is to happen. Just touching another layer of center and periphery. One layer you already touched. And periphery means that I am not a very active, like the center or the hub of all the activities that are going through in this ashram or the place where sadhaks are there. So mother is saying whether I remain in the center of the hub of the activities, or I am to remain like a servant at the side of the, maybe cleaning a sidewalk at this moment. I do not care about that. What I do is my utmost that I can. So that is just touching upon another layer of center and periphery. Yeah. Yes. Uh, yeah. And now we touch upon this thing where mother left her psychic being. So when she came for the first time, uh, and she says later in her accounts that if Sri Aurobindo had asked her to stay, she would have stayed. She wanted to stay, but she also knew at the same time, being the servant of the divine, being instrument of the divine, she also knew that only divine knows what is the best for me to do. So if the divine wants me not to be in Pondicherry at this point of time, so be it. That is his wish. So Sri Aurobindo later on, she shares that there was some other tasks that needed to be done. For that, mother needed to be there in wherever she went back to, Paris or uh, where she was in France, and she left her psychic being here. Now, mother can do that because mother was an occultist. She was playing around and being an adept in shuffling around and playing around, jumping consciousness from one layer of our uh, existence to the other layer. She could leave her presence in one state and experience the other state also of the being at the same time. For us, it is impossible. It seems impossible at the moment. But mother was preparing herself in occultism for a very, very long time. And it's beautiful if you read the accounts of the mother, how, for example, we have this mental sheath, then we have this vital sheath, and then we have this, physical sheath, we have the spirit within. So at the same time, one can access, as if you are, your spirit is somewhere else, and your mental being, your vital sheath is actively engaged somewhere else. There have been accounts where mother was maybe in Tlemcen, I guess, and she was able to show to her friends that I was in France at the same time. So this, when you shared that how could mother do that, only mother knows. We can only talk about it, and maybe make imaginations how this possible. But I'm sure many of us have the capacity to do that. But again, having no clue of this domain, I would not say much on this. Better to read mother's accounts, where she's experimenting with all this occultism. Yeah. So mother says, what does it matter? Is it necessary to know whether one is at the center or the periphery? Now, this again is, as I discussed, this was this reference to the sadhaks who were involved in Sri Aurobindo's vicinity, and now mother has to go somewhere else, away from Pondicherry, and maybe work from there. So she's not at the center or the hub of being next to the Lord, right? She's not there. So mother says, you may keep me in periphery just as an ordinary sevak, and even there I would be doing the service. So this is a huge lesson for us, because the ego only wants to be in this or that way serving the divine. If I am working, striving towards self-giving, then I would not care whether I am the center or the periphery. It would not matter. What would matter is, provided that entirely consecrated to thee, living only for thee, and by thee, I do better and better the work thou givest me. This should be our attitude. All the rest has no importance at all. I think this is something we can keep as a sutra for a lifetime, because we forget, we keep on forgetting. So it's beautiful for us to remind, what is my purpose? Why am I here? What is the task that I need to do? What am I here for in this life as a human being? And if I want to consecrate my life to the divine, then does not matter where am I. So this is a beautiful, again, a catch. I would like to hint at the catch again. Mother says, provided that entirely consecrated to thee, living only for thee, and by thee, I do better and better work. So progression is not ceasing. It does not mean that if I am at the periphery, I've gone back in the passive state. Progression is not ceasing. This has to be really kept in focus for those of us, because our lives are not yet completely consecrated to the divine. So we have to remind ourselves, again and again. Yeah. I would say more. So mother wants to say more on this. Provided thy work is done in the world as well as and as completely as it can be. What matters? The individual or the group that realizes this work. Again, referring to those people who are at the moment in service of Sri Aurobindo. Mother says, if your work is to be done, how would it matter if I am actively engaged in that work at this moment of time or other people are doing it? What matters is thy victory, thy work. I do not matter. That kind of a humility, that kind of a groundedness. Because हमारे साथ, the issue with us many times become that if I am not actively in the center of something, I would begin to take it on my self-worth and I would say, I am useless. Mother is not doing that, because even in the states of her not being actively involved in divine work, what is the thing that she's doing? She's melting continuously in the divine presence. We have to remember that actively. She's not wasting human life. She's actively melting in the divine presence within, in the terms of inactivity, in the phases of so-called inactivity in the outer situations. Yeah. And when mother contemplates like this, mother says, now my heart is at peace because I'm not in a haste. My restlessness has been put to rest, because whether I'm in active mode or a passive meltdown mode in your presence, it does not matter. Your work matters, which should be done through any which way. Yeah. So the anxiety mother gets kind of a rest in terms of that anxiety. The right attitude is of peace, of trust, no impatient revolt, no haste, and then leave it to the divine how he will inspire us to serve him. Wherever he places us, we should do that as well as we can to the utmost of our capacity. So if there is a task which is given to me by the divine, this is what I have to spread, this is the message, for example, I have to spread, I should not be afraid of putting all my energy there. I should put all my energy there, and even when nobody turns up, I've maybe prepared a huge playground which needed to be play prepared for the divine work, for example. And even when nobody turns up, it's okay. I did my best, mother, I did it for the service that I was at. How does it matter? You only know, maybe you were preparing for me to go through all this process and go through the, this phase of people not turning up in the playground which I so beautifully prepared. Now, what does this do? This makes me even more detached from my tasks. You offer somebody flowers, for example, you do it with all your love, as an offering to the mother. Now the person does not accept, for example, he rejects it. Again, a lesson for me. Maybe the mother wants me to go through this lesson so that I learn something in detachment. And I think this is a humbling and grounding journey for us, for all of us, when especially when we do works with love, and somehow this ego comes in, creeping in, wanting something in return. And that wanting may be something very little. Maybe the person just accepts it and the person rejects it. Again, a challenge for me. Again, a beautiful lesson in disinterestedness and detachment. This is how we can make it, a part of our practical day to day life. I made something, I cook something. Again, the ego comes in. It wants appreciation now. And people don't appreciate. Beautiful lesson again in detachment. Mother, I made it for you. Whether I get appreciation or not does not matter, mother. So, this is how this bhakti yoga kind of, intermingles with karma yoga. They are not separate from each other. So, knowing that in my all devotion, I do it for the mother, I see that the ego always have the tendency to creep in my work. And mother always gives me a chance to be detached from that creeping in of the ego. This is how we can constantly, go ahead on this path. Resolution of the ego. Oh, my sweet master, in peace, serenity, and equanimity, I give myself, and I melt in thee. My thought, calm and tranquil, and my heart, smiling. Thy work will be done, I know, and thy victory is certain. Now, here we can see that mother is only concerned about divine victory. It is not the case with egos. Egos are concerned with their victory, and that is where we stumble. Can I make my life that the best possible in each phase of my life should be done, whether my ego crumbles or not? It does not matter. We are mostly looking for the safety of our ego, our comfort zones. Mother is not there. Mother is on the path of dissolution of her ego so that it can be merged completely into the divine. And that is why mother is having this aspiration. Thy work will be done, I know. हमको क्या होता है? My work should be done. Now this is where we can interchange. We can work on this in our journey if we wish to. If we also want to make our life a temple of the Lord, then only I will be able to say, may thy work will be done through whatever way want. And thy victory, may it be certain. Uske liye, for that, maybe I have to go through pain, I have to go through crumbling of my ego, but that all is very auspicious, I know, Lord. Thy work should not stop. And their mother is very tranquil and calm in her heart because she knows with certitude that no matter whether I am an instrument or not in this particular moment, work of the divine will go on. What a certitude. Now we can check within our own selves. Is that certitude something that we often contemplate on? Would we like to do that? Do I want to make my life a consecration towards the divine? So what we should pray is for the divine victory. How it will happen, we should leave it to the divine. As long as I have preferences, I will do this work and not that work, and I'm fit for this work, and my skills are only capable in this area, not in that area. We are not yet ready for the divine work. I remember this at this point. Also would also request all of you to share if you have anything. So I once went to a Krishnamurti Foundation school in south of India, and very little beautiful school, about 20-30 people only in that school. And there, I was about to be a teacher there, and we were discussing how it would be. And they were suggesting that maybe you can begin from areas of your strength, for example biology, immunology, and these areas of maybe art which you are good at, and then slowly expand in other areas which for now you don't feel confident. I think that really stayed with me for a very long time. Even now, after so many years, I remember that conversation. No, so we begin with our strengths, but we do not stop at our weaknesses, because then I as a person remain the same. I do not give myself a chance to transform, because for the divine works, even if I am a doctor, I can be a jhaduwala if needed. For the divine works, even if I am a PhD, if I need to be a maybe a technician, I would be. So if we are not letting our basic structure of the ego, we are not letting it change, then we are not yet ready for this process of self-giving and dissolution. Yeah. So yeah, then comes this part of where Alokda is sharing that when a sword is with the lying by the side of the master, the sword is happy there. And if the sword is lying, maybe it's in activity, it's in the middle of the war, it's fine there also. So either getting rusted, lying by the side of the Lord, or being in complete active war zone in the hands of the Lord. The sword does not complain. Where does the Lord want me to use at the moment? Just another example is, the flute of the Krishna. It's fine in the pocket of Krishna, and it's completely fine also playing joyous on the lips of the Krishna. It does not matter. What matters is that it is at the service of the divine. Now, this is the question we all need to ask, whether each of my day is, only two things can happen. At one moment, I can be at the service of the Lord, or in that very moment, I can be at the service of my ego. It's binary function, 0 or 1. In one moment, I'm just talking of one moment. Now, with growing sincerity, I get to realize that out of 100 moments today, I was able to have at least 4 good moments where I saw that I was not given in to my ego. I stayed there at the feet of the mother, and I did whatever best was needed in that situation for everyone. I did not preserve my ego. And this is how we slowly move ahead on this journey, moment by moment. We may slip again, but then our task is to get up again, dust off the pants and get off again. Oh, my sweet master, in peace, serenity, equanimity, I give myself and I melt in thee. My thought calm and tranquil, my heart smiling. Thy work will be done, I know, and thy victory is certain. O my sweet master, grant to all the sovereign boon of thy illumination. So, Mother is praying also for all the rest of the humanity, that may this illumination, this inner illumination that she is experiencing at this moment, when she is not actively in the center or hub of the activities around the divine works, even there she is finding a deep peace and tranquility in this inner immersion with the divine. May everybody receive this illumination. This is the prayer. Yeah. So anything so far, anything that has come up, would like to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask,
Yeah, Preeti?
yeah,
Okay.
can there be a very fine line sometimes where हम उसको बड़ी passive भी हो जाए और lazy हो जाए?
That's what I was hinting at again and again, Preeti. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
मतलब हम जैसे suppose just sitting at home also, yes, we've offered, okay, this is the circumstances and yeah, maybe I'm
Yeah.
working on myself and preparing,
Yeah.
but उसमें हम एक step और lazy हो सकते हैं कि
बिल्कुल. बिल्कुल.
घर में रह के भी फिर भी प्रोग्रेस ना करें, मतलब लेजीली बस रोबोटिकली ही चलते रहे.
Totally. That is a complete possibility. And that's why, Preeti, I was sharing again and again because there is a very delicate, fine line of balance between melting in inner divine presence and laziness. And only I would know where I'm right now. Only I would know. Yeah. So, okay. So, if not anything from the rest of you, would you like to read the prayer? Any one of you would like to read the prayer? Who has access to uh, the screen at the moment? I'm on the screen. The prayer is there, the share screen.
If nobody else is going, I can go.
Yeah, yeah.
May 13th, 1914. The somnolence of my thought, O Lord, thou wilt shake off, so that I may have knowledge and understand the experience thou hast given to my being. When something in me puts a question to thee, always thou replies. And when it is necessary that I should know something, thou teachest it to me either directly or indirectly. I see more and more that all impatient revolt, all haste would be useless. Everything is organized solely that I may serve thee as I should. What is my place in this service? For a long time past, I do not ask. What does it matter? Is it necessary to know whether one is at the center or on the periphery? Provided that entirely consecrated to thee, living only for thee and by thee, I do better and better the work thou givest me. All the rest has no importance at all. I would say more. Provided thy work is done in the world as well, as completely as it can be, what matters the individual or the group that realizes this work? O my sweet Master, in peace, serenity, and equanimity, I give myself and I melt in thee. My thought calm and tranquil, and my heart smiling. Thy work will be done, I know, and thy victory is certain. O my sweet Master, grant to all the sovereign boon of thy illumination.
Beautiful. Thank you. Uh, so one addition that when Taru was reading, it just came to me. When Arjun is in the middle of Kurukshetra, now he cannot say this line. Just a second. What matters the individual or the group that realizes this work? Now, this is also the fine line that Preeti was touching upon, that it can actually become laziness and inertia. Now, Arjun, because he did not want to, make his own family suffer, so it was actually coming from his attachment. Even being a Kshatriya, being a person from the Arya, he has to fight. It's his duty to fight against unethical stuff, and he can use that as a kind of a excuse that I will not fight, because work of the divine will be done. He can easily use that. But that is why I was again and again pointing that mother is saying, provided, this is this a beautiful thing, catch, provided that entirely consecrated to thee, living only for thee and by thee, I do better and better work thou givest me. Now Arjun at that moment of time, he is not consecrated to the divine. He cannot say, Lord, I will melt in your presence, and I will not act the action that I need to do in the Kurukshetra. He cannot say that. For him, at that very moment, his action is leading him to the union with the divine birth. So there are many, many things, where one can, because ego is so huge, and the complexity of the ego is so tremendous, if I can use that word. It can come from any which way and make it an excuse for not working, for not giving my best, for not progressing, for maybe giving an excuse for my own attachment. I may not say it directly that I am attached to this, my family. I may say it in ghuma fira ke all the ways, that this is my family and this is so unethical. How can I fight against them? So I'll give all kinds of excuses. But at the core of it, I am truly sincere. If I can truly see, where is that coming from? The want of not to fight is coming from my attachment to my family. That because this is my own blood, Kauravas are my own cousins, I don't want to hurt them, no matter how bad they may have done ethically. So that is why, friends, I was sharing that the importance of sincerity and being honest to yourself, no one can check externally, no person can say, this is the place where you need to check, maybe you are not sincere. Only I can be the true judge for my own inner movements. There is a beautiful inner world of inner movements that is waiting for us to be discovered in all our sincerity, if we are ready for it. And on the path of yoga, which requires a lot of sincerity, this becomes a very, like a something which we need to carry on this path. The sharp eye of being ruthlessly sincere to ourselves. Yes, I just wanted to add that. Yeah. So are we done for today? Is there anything else? Okay, silence means there is nothing else, maybe. Then thank you for joining, and yeah, see you next week.